Hello everyone, I am the Shardy guy, and I am back again with the second part of my wish list for F1 2021 and beyond. Of course, in the previous video, I focused on the 4 things I would like to see changed in the game, so the things that are already in the game, but just need to be changed, make the experience a little bit better. In this video, I will be talking about 6 things that I'd like to see added into the games, so they're not already in the game, but they're features that can be relatively easily added to be put into the games to make, personally for me, the experience a little bit better. Here are 6 things I'd like to see added in F1 2021 and beyond. So starting off, the first thing is the implementation of having extra drivers to choose for my team mode. One thing a lot of people want to see added is having more driver changes, which I mentioned in the previous video with things I'd like to see fixed. Well, one way to easily fix this is to add more drivers for you to choose from. This could be the likes of Nico Hulkenberg, Alexander Albon, if they keep the drivers in the game who lost their seat in the at the end of last season. So yeah, it could be like Albon, Kvyat, who remember is a reserve driver now. He's with Alpine, I think they're called. Even Robert Kubica, who's the Alfa Romeo reserve driver. So yeah, it would be nice for them to add 2 or 3 of the guys to add a bit more depth into the lineup for you to choose from. So that way, they can add a little bit more fun, I guess, and potentially for drivers to lose their seat so that they're less of a cost for you to potentially buy them into your team rather than having to continuously buy them out of their contract, which can be a little bit frustrating. And how could drivers potentially lose their seat? Well, this brings me to my second point, an implementation of a morale / an interest meter. Well, the person's morale. Alright, this can easily be done. Basically, how the driver is feeling in their seat, but where they are at the moment. A good example. So if we go off the F1 2021 list. So Haas is not doing that great, but Mick Schumacher's getting continuously good results. So he feels like he is outperforming his car, so his morale, whilst happy, he's preferring to move elsewhere because he feels like where he is at the moment, he's not getting the results. Conversely, Perez at Red Bull, he's not having good results. He's finishing mid-pack, he's having mechanical failures, he's not qualifying too great, so he's feeling really shitty, and he just wants to move on. He just wants to move on to another seat, which I feel like can be something that can be easily added in a year or two. So the interest meter is basically how interested are they in joining your team, or how interested are they at leaving their current seat. So if their morale's low, they have good interest at wanting to move, so potentially you can get them at a cheaper price. And conversely, if they're having really good results and they're all really happy, they're not that interested in moving, so it will cost you a lot more to have to buy them out from their seat. Potentially as well, there could be like a news feed, a rumor mill of, oh, this guy's unhappy with his seat, he's potentially going to start looking for other options. Or Mercedes has made an offer to Max Verstappen, but Max Verstappen's not that interested, he's happy where he is. Just add a bit more drama kind of to the series for who's really interested as such at wanting to move and who's not that interested in wanting to move. My third point is having a better inclusion of the Formula 2, and later on, I know this part won't be added in straight away, but Formula 3 as well. It's probably only a matter of time before Formula 3 is added to the Formula 1 gaming experience. Because, yeah, since F2 is now in the game, I got a feeling that it's only a matter of time before they add Formula 3. But of course, there are some things that they kind of got to change to fix the F2 before I believe they have the resources and the time to effectively add in Formula 3. So firstly, in my team mode, you could have to start your team in Formula 2. Once you get good results, you have a bit more funding, you can then jump to Formula 1 and potentially become midfield team straight away. Compared to if you go straight into Formula 1, you don't have many resources, you don't have a lot of funding, so you're stuck down the back, battling with, well, I guess we can say Haas this season. So yeah, that could be one better way to include Formula 2. And even in my career mode, I've only, in the past couple of days, I've had a quick run through of the Formula 2 season, and honestly, it's quite anticlimactic at this stage. Because, yeah, you don't really get a proper standings, you don't get any interviews, you don't get to talk to anyone, and I'd imagine that you probably won't get to talk to anyone until probably at the end of the season when you get the offers to go straight to Formula 1. So personally, experience won't be that great, I don't feel. Because easy things that can be added there. You can have your manager talking to you. You could have, well, yeah, interest meter from the other teams for if they're interested in you. They could potentially have a team representative come talk to you during the season. Say, oh, yeah, we are a little bit interested in potentially bringing you into a Formula 1 seat at the next season. So you could potentially have a test day somewhere. You could take part. You could have the young drivers test actually at the end of the season, where you can have a run through in a particular team's car against some other Formula 2 guys, and depending on where you finish could depend on what teams want to offer you a drive and what teams are not that interested. So yeah, it could be really nice to have that kind of experience in as a Formula 2 driver or as a Formula 2 team. So yeah, to add a bit more emphasis around the Formula 2 series, so that at a later date, I believe once they've got all this Formula 2 stuff sorted, they can then add Formula 3, and of course I know it will probably be similar to how Formula 2 is at the moment, so would be nice to add that. My fourth thing I'd like to see added is a driver academy. So of course, you can have your own driver academy to recruit drivers potentially for your second seat, since you basically hog the first seat in the team. Probably one of the downsides that came with the Formula 2 guys is even when you'd maxed out their abilities, they wouldn't do that great as a driver. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, they wouldn't really get out of the mid-pack. So, for me at this stage in Formula 1, my team, I'm currently racing with Nick De Vries, and he's only had 1 point finish in, well, not quite this season I've had him. I recruited him halfway through the first season because before then I had Matsushita, but I released him halfway through and brought in De Vries. And unfortunately, outside of the 8th place finish at Monaco, he never really gets out of the low to mid teens, and yeah, a lot of the things are all the way up are doing quite well. I mean, yeah, the simulator, all the stats are the max it can be for him. I can't max him anymore. And unfortunately, I don't feel like the results or the improvements that I want to get are not really being properly implemented for the Formula 2 guys. So if they brought in a driver academy, this could be another way to easily implement the Formula 2 and the Formula 3 series. So you get a rough rundown on the Formula 2 and 3 standings of really who's where. Of course, not straight away. So, like at the end of the first season, you can have the option to implement your own driver academy. So you can bring in 2, maybe 3 drivers to be part of your driver academy. And what you get from them is they get time in the simulator, they get test days, potentially even in a practice session, you can have the option to run them in a practice session during the year. So it would probably be a better experience to add that, because if they get more seat time in the car, their base stats go up more before they join the Formula 1 grid, because they are getting more experience in the car. So they can basically have rolling stats before they get into the car. And of course, when they actually get into, if they are good enough, they get a spot in the team. If they're not, potentially, unfortunately have to let them go. If their results are not performing to where you'd want them to perform to. Potentially, even if a team wants to buy you out from your academy, they can buy them out. So you get a bit of extra money when a particular team buys out your driver to join their team. And of course, vice versa, if you want to buy a driver out from another team's academy, then of course you'll have to pay them out to get them to join your team, unless you have a technical alliance, which could add a little bit of interest, a little bit more intrigue. It would be nice for them to implement a driver academy into the Formula 1 game at a later date, so that it can add a little bit more fun, a little bit more experience, and you can get better performances from your Formula 2 drivers. My fifth and penultimate point is having manual pit stops. So what I mean by this is, if you go back to Formula 1 Championship Edition, which is by far the best Formula 1 game I've ever played, and even from time to time, despite the game being 15 odd years old, I think it is now, and I still get great fun out of it, because it just adds more unpredictability, because people have errors, people have mistakes, it's oil, and having oil patches could be another thing that they could easily add in. So like for a lap or two after a car has a mechanical issue, there can be the oil flags, so you have to be more careful as you enter a corner. Otherwise, you could potentially run wide, or you could potentially spin out. That could be another thing that can be added. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So how the pit stops would be implemented is, well, basically, for example, for the PS4 controller, because that's the console I play on. So it would be X and triangle for basically getting jacks up, the front and back. The L and R buttons can be used for the tires, getting them on and off. And then once all that's done, triangle again for the back jack, and then X again to lift the lollipop up for the stop-go person, and then you're on your way. Why that can be brought in is, well, it increases human error in your pit stops, So yeah, if you do a really good pit stop, you gain ground in your opposition, you gain your way back up the field. Conversely, if you have a poor pit stop, you fall back into the pack and you have to work your way back through. Yeah, I just feel like it could add a bit more fun to pit stops, because in all honesty, pit stops are probably where it's won and lost, as we've seen many, many times in the Formula One series. The final thing I'd like to see added is a feature that probably not many people are a fan of, but me personally, to had a bit more experience to the game, would be something that would be nice to be added. Commentary. Personally, I have found it really, really odd and really, really random. Of course, I've gotten used to it now because I've played a few of the Formula One games, so I've gotten used to the commentary method. But I just find it really, really odd that they do the intro, introduce the grid, and then nothing until you finish the race, and then they pretend they know everything that happened in the race. So it would be nice for them to bring in commentary. So what I mean by the commentary is, of course, not have them blabber out every 10 seconds, because that will get annoying for the player, and you'd probably want to throw your controller at the screen within half a race, because you just think, can you guys just shut up? What I mean by the commentary is, of course, they do the 5 red lights, off they go. They mention if someone gets off to a good start, then, for example, Giovinazzi's gotten off to a really great start. He's already passed 2 or 3 cars. Or conversely, it's been a really poor start for Ocon. He's lost 2 spots. So it would be nice if they brought that in so you can have a better experience of having a commentary after the start. Of course, if someone has an issue or a failure, they can say, Raikkonen's car doesn't sound right. I don't think that's going to last much longer. And then if it finally breaks down, they say, yes, Raikkonen's car was broken down. That's the runoff after turn 3. This could potentially bring out a virtual safety car or a safety car. Or if someone hits the wall, as rare as it bloody happens, they can say, Ricciardo's in the wall at the exit of turn 5. This will probably bring out a safety car. So personally, I would like to see commentary being brought in, but I know it's probably not everyone's cup of tea, which I personally accept, because I get it. You just want to race. You don't want to hear someone yelling near you every 10 seconds. Which you kind of do already, Jeff. So of course, as I just said, I know everyone's going to have their own opinions for what they do or don't want changed to add a better experience. These are just my lists. This basically wraps up this video. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Shardy Guy. Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next video.